So we'll definitely be visiting either way. But.
Back and forth. And you're going to keep your house there.
Yeah.
So you could always, Hi, friends. It's been 2 weeks. Welcome.
Yay.
I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. I don't know can we say that or do we say holiday break? I don't know. I want to be politically correct.
For me, it was a Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, there we go. I hope we had a break. Me and Anna had a break from our calls. I hope everyone had a wonderful break from us as well.
Yes.
We have lots to chat about today. So I know, Anna, you first of all, excuse my voice. It is better than it was, but it's still not fantastic. So I might have to put a cough drop in. I'm doing a cold for it's on week 3.
You're like, I'm doing this cold right now. It's like it's really awesome. You should really do it too.
Not. I don't know if it's the same one or me and my son keep passing it back. I don't know, but
Tis the season. I mean, I've been very well, except for Thanksgiving, I did have a bunch of people at my house, but I haven't been around people that much. So luckily for me, I haven't gotten anything yet. But it's that time of year.
We have a 5-year-old. They're disgusting. We've talked about.
Oh yeah,
they're disgusting.
Yeah.
But you had November's over, and I think we both hit some. I also cannot think straight. Because I'm still on meds too.
You're just very medicated.
I know it's the natural stuff, so I don't feel so bad taking it for 3 weeks, but it still does mess with your brain.
Absolutely.
We've had some records this month. Both of us hit records, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I had actually crossed 11,000 in gross revenue for the first time ever in a month, which was really exciting. The only time I've actually crossed 10 was last December. So, oh no, Duncan wants the book still. Guess what? I still don't have your address. So how am I supposed to send you one?
Duncan, I don't know if he's on Instagram. I talked to him on Facebook. So maybe he has it. He just wants to harass you. So
we'll have to work that out somehow.
Oh, and if you guys are new, I have the book here. This is what I'm talking about. I always keep it here. And the book.
Like that
link. I don't know if I've put the link in. I should make sure after. We always talk about it on here, and then I'm like, did I do it?
Yes. I can't stand seeing the glare in my glasses. It drives me nuts. Well, and also if you can find on Instagram, we're always posting in the stories when we're doing these lives. And so if you go to my profile or my stores page, in each one of those, I have a link tree in my bio that has the link to it also.
So I don't think my audience cross contaminates because I did a poll yesterday on Instagram and on YouTube to see. I'm doing Vlogmas, so it's a video every single day, and I was like, what do you guys want to see? Because that's a lot of content every single day.
Yeah, it is.
And the Instagram poll, so it was 4 options. The Instagram poll picked 2, and the YouTube poll picked the other 2. I'm I don't think they cross-contaminate. It's a completely
funny.
There's a couple that will go between, but it's so funny with social media that they say, I think it's the same with reselling too. You have people on eBay and they won't go look for it on Poshmark or.
Yes. Okay. I have a question for you about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting on Poshmark, sorry, but I have a friend who literally 30 minutes ago texted me and she's like, hey, she's like, I know you sell everything. If you were only going to sell clothes, would you still sell it on eBay or would you try Poshmark? And she's basically having that dilemma herself. She's never really sold on either platform, but she definitely only is selling probably her own clothing. It's probably pretty fashionable clothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be on YouTube Live with my friend Sarah, who does do both. And she will probably have a much more insightful answer than I would have. So
is she doing it as just to get rid of her closet or to
yes, just to just kind of because she doesn't want to just donate it and it's nice stuff, that type of thing.
I would probably just do Poshmark because it's significantly easier.
Okay.
My stuff sells, my volume's higher on eBay. My average sale price is higher on eBay. But it took me a solid 8 months to get to that point after trying on Poshmark for 2 years.
Right.
You have to commit. eBay is a long-term relationship, right?
Yes.
You have to show them your commitment, where Poshmark can be a side piece and you put a little, you go out on a date for the weekend when you want to sell some things and then you don't see it for 6 months.
Right. And it's kind of whatever. But is it, would you say things sell more quickly on Poshmark too?
No.
Not necessarily.
I mean, no.
Okay.
Her
criteria was I said, you know me, like I will wait for stuff to sell. And she's like, yeah, I'm not that patient. I don't want to wait forever for it to sell. But I also don't think she cares about getting the very topmost dollar for it either.
Yeah, well, and Duncan has a good point too, so you have to share on Poshmark. So
Mm.
I have a sharing service that does it for me. It's linked down below if you guys are interested. You can use it too. That it's like 30% off, I think, if you use my code. But you do
Cool.
have to share, otherwise you can't make sales. I would probably, when people ask me that don't want to get into reselling,
Yeah.
if it's like super high end, I would send it to like the Real Real.
Okay.
Their commission rates are pretty okay, or just take it to a consignment shop around. It's a big, I mean, it's a big commitment to
It
resell,
is.
and
It
there's
is.
a lot of sellers.
Well, and yeah, for her, like her husband is a friend of mine too, and he sells stuff on eBay, but he's more into like collectibles, trading cards, like that kind of stuff. And so I know the categories are so different. And I'm just like indiscriminate about it. Like, no, no, I'll sell in any
Oh,
category.
well, if her husband already sells on eBay, then he can, like, help her. It's just
Yeah.
intimidating, and if you're only gonna sell, like, 10 items out of your closet, it's not worth, like, figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
that's interesting. I'll tell her everything that you said, but especially just that like it's kind of like a less of a commitment to be on Poshmark, but you do have to share. And on eBay, your ASP and your volume is higher, but it's like a little more to trifle with.
yeah, and it's higher now. Like, when you first
Mhm.
start, you have no feedback. You're not a
Right.
top rated seller. You're not doing all the strategies,
Right.
right? Like, it was not the case when I first started.
Yeah.
So sales, what did you do? Your sales hit records. What did you do to do those? Hold on, friends. This is a question Q&A too, so feel free to ask questions. We have things to chat about, but do feel free to ask questions as well. I'll put the banner on so I don't have to
I
do this.
like cold medicine, Sarah. This is fun. Um,
It's cold medicine, and it's also like 3 days probably of being up all night sleeping. So I'm like lack of
Ooh,
sleep.
yes, that is really rough. To me, that's like the killer, sleep deprivation. But
I'll probably take a nap
yeah.
after this.
So mostly I've just had I mean, I actually haven't listed anything. All of November, I didn't list anything. Yeah, I know. Shock and awe. I refreshed or like, sold similar, like everything that needed to that was like going to be over 90 days. So I did keep all of my listings from becoming stagnant. I do have a big chunk of them that is stale, which is between 30 and 90 days, but I'm just mostly trying to keep things out of stagnant, like
How many do you think you did sell similar on?
refreshed. Oh, probably at least like maybe 3 or 4,000 like throughout the month of November.
Oh,
So
like
I
a
would
fourth of your store.
yeah, probably so. And like I think just based on the 90-day like cycle at this point, that's pretty much like what I do every month. And it's somewhat balanced. So I'm just always taking the bottom ones and putting them back to the top, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So this is interesting, and I'm actually planning to do like an experiment like this once the year's over. Like I can start doing experiments at the beginning of the year and hit new goals, but like I
Yes.
want to set that goal for the end of the year. But it's interesting because you talk to people, not every, but most resellers you talk to, any advice that you get is how do you make money? You had your best month ever.
Yeah, ever of all
You didn't
time.
list one single new item.
I sure did not. But I wonder, I don't know. What I don't know is like, does selling similar
Mhm.
to eBay, like, does that count as new listings?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
so we were talking about this with Val, right? That the new listing isn't necessarily for, like, checking a box with eBay algorithm, and eBay's like, "Oh, I'm happy now." It's more buyer behavior, and if you
Yes.
have new listings, then it's getting more eyes, and they're going to your store, and
Right.
from that perspective, yes, I think Sell Similar is the same because it's
Yeah.
getting shown as new. It's a
Right.
new listing for buyers to look at.
Right.
Um,
So the other thing though is that my ad rate was flat across everything that was not like super high dollar. It was 20%. So that was pretty high too.
yeah.
But like for not listing anything, I mean, I sold 525 items in November. Like I shipped all those. So
This is interesting because I'm looking, like, forward into January and, like, starting to plan some goals, and inventory is my biggest hiccup, and it's
mm,
also what makes your net and your cash flow like, once you get to a certain place, if I cannot spend as much inventory and sell what I already have
yeah.
And so like instead, like right now I'm listing 12 items. I'm just thinking out loud with you, but right now I'm
Yes.
listing 12 items a day. If I went down to listing like 5 items a day, but selling similar 7 items a day, I wonder what my sales would do.
Oh my
And then
God.
you're not spending money on new inventory. And I'm not like, I'm constantly stressed about having to find new inventory.
Right.
I could
Yes.
easily find 5
Well,
items a day.
that is one reason that I built my store this way with a huge inventory, because I know that sometime in the near future, I'm going to have small children in my house for like a few years and I'm not going to be consistently listing stuff. But I do think that the magic, like, not magic, it's really not magic at all. I shouldn't say that. But like the secret sauce that is not a secret now because we're telling you about it, it's
Yeah.
delicious, is the selling similar thing. Because if you just throw everything up there and you never sell similar, it's just then at a certain point 99% of your store is stagnant like mine was. Then it's like, okay, it makes sense why it feels like you have to keep listing, but maybe that's not completely true, and maybe there is a world in which I could let
Ah,
4,000 items sell down, like even if I'm not having like a gangbusters month like last month. Like if I had 3 to 400 like normal items selling every month, but I wasn't having to list anything like consistently, that would be great. So I
yeah.
didn't really do that on purpose in November. It's just that Amanda, my sister-in-law who works for me, was like, I'm going to take a little holiday break. And I was like, you do you. Just let me know when you want to pick up some more work again. And
Yeah.
so she's just kind of been off. And so she's not the bottleneck, but she's like photographing and processing all my items. So I'm not doing that because I'm shipping 525 things. So I'm just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm just going to do my work. And whenever she wants to, do another batch of stuff, she'll get back on the train and we'll keep going. But like, she didn't have to, and I didn't have to. So we just didn't. But it was a really good experiment in hindsight because it seems like it worked. I mean, November is always a huge month for me. So there's that. And I was promoting things a lot and I'm in this semi liquidation mode, but it was really was satisfying because I was trying to sell down inventory so I have less to move, make more money, than I would maybe normally make in a November by kind of pushing the envelope on those fronts. And like, I think it worked. So I'm like pretty
No, I
happy
think
with
so
it.
too, and I think we're kind of onto the same thing. This is kind of what I've been messing with for the past couple of months.
Yeah.
Well, I had never sold similar. I had read like it's good, it's bad, you should do it, you shouldn't, and then we
Right.
went to headquarters and we talked to some people and like they didn't explicitly tell us to do it, but they kind of told us to,
But
right?
they
Like
still
this
told us
is how
like
it
if
works.
you were to do it, like why it helps, like why it actually,
Right,
what's the mechanism there?
right.
Yeah.
And eBay has a button for it. So I was like, if they have a button for it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not us doing a workaround to try and figure out how to do it. They have a button. And I think that's why my
Yeah.
summer was awful. But
Mhm.
some of it's summer slowdown for clothing and I wasn't listing
Yeah.
much, blah, 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 blah. But I've been messing around with Sell Similar and Promoted as well. But it's at the promoted, I was at 25% for November.
Yeah.
Like my cap was 25%. They'd obviously don't all sell there, which is really
Right.
high, but it wasn't my highest gross month ever, like gross number, not gross, like, oh,
That was
but
disgusting.
it was the highest number sold month that I've ever had. And I was at like I don't know, I can look real quick. Let me see. 400 and what is that? 421. Which is my highest, but my average sale price is like tanking. But I don't think that's because of me. It's the market. I've done videos on it, like looking
Yeah.
at what, like in Terra Peak, what the trends are. People don't have money right now. And that's going to
Yeah.
continue on for my stuff, for clothing. It's
Yeah.
not collectibles, it's not high end.
Right.
People are going to still need a pair of jeans, but where they would spend $25, now they want to spend $15.
Yes.
And so I think I'm gonna have to try and push. I love my little naked mannequin in the background.
You're
Sorry,
like,
it just caught my eye. Hey. Um,
that's funny.
I think this is kind of the I'll be interested, but then I'm also like, if we keep doing these really high promoted and then we're on YouTube telling other people to do it or telling them to mess with it,
Right.
it's gonna keep pushing that ceiling higher and higher. And like then we're not making money if we're at
I
like a
know.
50% promoted.
Well, and like, yeah, it's hard to see some stuff go for so cheap too. Like, because I had over like Thanksgiving or the holiday weekend, right? All of it, like Black Friday, Cyber, whatever, small business, all the things. I had like a 30% off sale on top of that. So I was like basically taking home 50% of all that stuff that sold. And I didn't notice like a huge difference in like the amount of stuff that sold during those days. Now I can tell, okay, the weekend as a whole is over, but like I don't know, it's still doing pretty well. But I actually had, so I usually do the adjusted ad rate thing and I put a cap on it. But just to like push, I just set it across the board at 20%. I didn't even let it fluctuate by category, which is something I normally do because it'll hold it to whatever the standard rate is for per category, like per item.
Yeah.
But I was just
Yeah,
like, no, move this stuff out of here. So that, and it did seem like that felt like a little bit more of an aggressive approach, and it seems like it got some more aggressive results. So I guess it is.
but it works too. Like I was talking with my husband this afternoon. I keep going back and forth on like, should I keep really high promoted listings? Like, what should I do?
Yeah.
And and I've said this to myself too, but hearing someone else say, he was like 75%, like, because I'm at 25% fees. Like once I put together all of my things, my eBay fees are getting to be about 24%. They used to be like
Mm.
14, which is like kind of like that's
Wow.
high, right? But I do 20% on Poshmark, so it's only
Yeah.
4% more. And it's like 75% of something is better than 0% of nothing, right? It's getting them to sell. And I
Right.
think we're headed in, at least for what I sell, I think
Yeah.
we're headed in that direction this next year, that you kind of just have to do what you can do to get things moving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm a hoarder and not a reseller.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I do wanna touch on really quickly too, because 'cause we're talking a lot of eBay, but Poshmark actually
Yeah.
showed up for me this month. One
Oh,
was the
nice.
lives, and we've talked about those, like, to an extent that I don't wanna even get into anymore, so if you're interested, I have a video on it, or go back and check some of our other YouTube lives that we kinda talk about it as I was doing them. I've stopped, so I haven't done one in 2 weeks, but it did get me $1,200 extra that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. It was, like, a profit of, like, $3 an item. But it was all stuff that I was gonna donate or I'd had forever because I was, like, kind of feeling the waters. So that kinda helped, but then I tried a couple new strategies over Cyber, well, like, that whole weekend, like, small business
I know
Saturday,
it's like Black
Cyber
Friday, Small Business Saturday,
Sunday.
Cyber Monday, or there's a giving day. Is that
Oh,
Tuesday?
Tuesday. Tuesday's
Okay, I
giving.
was like, there's like several of them.
Right,
Yeah.
and Black Friday. I forgot, I didn't think about it until after Black Friday, and I was like, "Oh, duh." But we do, like, a family thing on Black Friday, so I wasn't, like, in business mode, and then Saturday, I was like, "I should, like, capitalize on this," right? Like, I am a small business, and
Yeah,
Small
right.
Secondhand Sunday, like, hello, Sarah. But I
I
tried a
didn't
new
even post
strategy.
about it.
Well, I tried a new strategy. I didn't really do anything. No, on eBay I did. I did a 30% off coupon too.
Mm,
And then any watcher I sent an email or a message with them and was like, "Hey, I'm doing 30% off of everything. If you want to bundle items together, you get 30% off if you say anything else." I didn't really do much on eBay, but I did a couple like aggressive strategies on Poshmark, and I have a video coming out on either Saturday or Sunday about exactly what I did. It was one of the best Poshmark weekends that I've had. It outbeat eBay, which for me, I think that's happened like 3 times in my life. Um,
wow.
so Poshmark like showed up for me, which is not normally the case. It's not shown up for me so far. I mean, we're only 2 days into the month, but I had 0 sales yesterday on Poshmark, so
Yeah. Well, and that, yeah, it definitely still happens. I don't know, my phone just made a noise and I'm not sure why. It's supposed to be on silent.
mhm.
Um,
Oh, well, mine's gonna be buzzing in a minute. I think
oh,
we have
okay.
a couple of questions too.
Oh yeah.
Question on eBay: how many places does promoting your items get shown? I know the answer. Do you, Duncan?
I know the answer.
Do you? Tell me.
130.
Duncan, I wanna hear what you say. So here's the thing. I've heard from 3 different eBay executives, different numbers.
3 different numbers?
3 different numbers.
Probably
And
average them? No, I'm just kidding.
right, and then I did a paid promotion, with them on Instagram, that because they're paying you for it, you have to, like, approve, like, I wrote all my own content. They weren't, like, telling me what to say, but they
Mm,
don't want you, like, saying explicit lies, right? Like, to make sure that you're not, and so they just kinda have to approve it, and I put 130 on the post, and they were actually like, "Mm, let's make that 100."
Oh.
And I was like, but I've heard an eBay executive say 130, and they're like, we're gonna say 100. And I was like, okay. So I don't know if there's some miscommunication.
You're like, can I say over 100?
No, I think I said, yeah, I don't know exactly what I said.
100 plus.
They would not let me commit to the 130
Wow.
from their mouth. Essentially, it's from their mouths because they're paying me to do
Right.
reel. So I thought that was interesting, but they did say at least 100. So I'm going with the 100 number now.
That is interesting. All right. Well, that's a nice round number.
Yeah, it's easier to.
I was gonna say, oh, I forgot to mention this earlier when so my record of November was crossing over 11,000 gross, but I'm also now below 12,000 listings.
I was thinking about this because you're like not your claim to fame, but like you're known to be.
Now I'm just a nobody again. Yeah.
You're gonna have to increase it once you get back up to Illinois.
I guess, yeah. But you know what Gabe would say? He'd be like, "Who cares how many listings? What's your net?"
Yeah, I'm with Gabe on that one.
Yeah.
One of the few resellers that has actually asked me what my net was. I was like, oh, like most resellers don't talk those numbers, which is why I love Gabe.
I mean, I agree that it's more important. I just don't like, I want my net to be better. So I'm not like walking around going like, this is so unusual. My net is this much. Although I will say I'm hoping, I don't actually know what off the top of my head what this means my net would be, but I'm like hopefully going to be hitting 100,000 gross for the first time this year. So
that's exciting.
Let's go hit it.
I know, friends, go shop our stores. So I looked at my numbers today. November's in. I'm 11,500 ish away from 100,000 gross. I've done that in months.
Yeah.
These past couple of months are kind of bleak, and then Christmas isn't usually, because then you have like the week of Christmas where people aren't spending, and so that's like a week.
Right.
Like once it's the last day to ship, you don't get many sales. Sometimes I get a little bump after Christmas when people got Christmas money, and then they'll start shopping. So I might do like a big promotion then. I don't have high hopes, and I'm going to be really pissed. I'm going to be at like 98.5, like so close that we're just going to round up, friends. Question: will promoting a dog item at 70% off sell it? Duncan, I'm going to let you talk first, and then I know why he's asking this question.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry if it's like.
I mean, it might sell it, but it all depends on how the quality of the listing relative to the other listings. So it's not going to guarantee that it sells. I think your chance of selling it might be better, but it's still not going to promote it to the very top, even if you push it really hard, because if it's not a good listing or it's not a good item, that's just like, you can never overcome that with ads.
Yes. And so he's asking this because I told him this week I promoted something. It's been almost a month that I promoted it at like 50% with like 50% swing. Cause just like my one oldest item I wanted to do, I'll do a video on it.
Yes, that's awesome.
But I wanted to see what happens. So you guys are watching this. You also have to watch the video when it comes out because I'll show you all the numbers, but I'm going to tell you what happened. So I promoted it up to like 75%. I think it could go. It's my oldest item. The sell-through rate on eBay is reasonable. Like it should have sold by now. It's like probably 3 years old. So obviously 3 years ago, my listings weren't as good, but I didn't change anything. I promoted it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I promoted it for 2 weeks and it didn't sell. The views went up a little bit. It didn't sell. So then I went in for a week. I changed the listing, made the picture a little bit better, went in and like updated some of the listing things. Now, 3 years later, I know a little bit better. It got a few more views, 3 weeks-ish. I'm guessing. I'll show all the numbers in the video that I do. 3 weeks, it doesn't sell. So then I end it and sell similar. A week and a half, it sells with a lower promoted listing.
No way.
Mm-hmm. So I think this goes back to a little bit what we're talking about. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like if your item is so old, eBay has already suppressed it so far. I don't know that there's coming back from that. Like they're like, we've had this for 3 years and it hasn't sold. Even if you promote the crap out of it,
yeah,
no one has looked at it or bought it in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started turning over, it's like if anybody lives near a lake, you know how this goes, where the bottom of the lake turns over and like you can taste it in the drinking water in the whole town. Have you ever experienced that? Sounds
No.
disgusting. It's a real thing. It happens like every so many years. It's like, oh, the lake's turning over. Like it's a thing. Anyway, but it's kind of like that. It's like this slow, like nasty process that you can taste in the water for like a while, and then it eventually goes away and everything settles back down and it's fine. But when I first started turning over all of my listings, earlier this year, I noticed that like there were some things, and I mean, I hardly was even doing anything with promotions at that point anyway, but just turning them all over was like, and I had to do it in shifts, so I didn't like accrue a bunch of fees and stuff. I had to like kind of pace myself with it. But yeah, it made a huge difference. Stuff that had been sitting there for literally 5 years would just like sell. And I'm like, well, that's not a coincidence. Like,
Right.
and it was no better off. Like I did not change anything about those listings. Also, can I just do a little reveal? I just realized there's a secret person in my shipping station right now who's hiding. Would you like to see her?
Sure, I'd love to.
Oh, let me go this
Oh,
way.
you're at that hair. Oh, is it an M&M?
It is.
To sell?
No, she holds all of my rolls of thermal labels for my printer.
Oh, on your finger? On the fingers?
She
That's
has
so
like
cute. I
she
need
has like
some.
holes. Let me see. She's like a candy like display piece. So I just have these inside and I just pull them out when I need them.
Oh, that's cute. I don't have space for that in my room.
She's very sassy. Anyway, I just realized, ooh, she's behind me and she's staring at me.
I wanted to touch on something that you noted too, especially if you have a lot of listings. So I am in the, I don't know what level store it is, but it's up to 10,000 listings. And I have 2,000 listings. So when you're selling similar to me, it doesn't necessarily matter because I could list an additional 8,000 before I'd have to start paying fees on it.
True.
But this is something, if you're starting to look at doing sell similar, this is obviously, you know this because you said it, but for the people out there, if you're starting to do sell similar and you have a store, or obviously you're paying for the listings in some fashion, you need to be mindful because as you end an item and list it again, whether it's relisting or sell similar, it counts towards how many you have in your store.
Yes.
And you will start paying fees, right? You'll start paying fees I turned over my whole store in a month. Because I have like 8,000 additional listings because they like increased it over COVID. I'm not to it, but if you're like right on that cusp, you may want to be a little bit mindful. And this kind of goes into this as well, like more the process of how to do it. Yes. Can you sell similar in bulk? I'm interested to hear how you do it because you have a large store.
I do. And I also have ADHD. So I'm terrified that I'm going to get distracted and accidentally delete like a whole bunch of things in bulk forever. And so let me tell you how I do it. This is how I protect myself from that mistake. I have never done it and I will never do it as long as I follow this process.
Okay. This is good because you know what happened to me this week. And I think part of it is
that could have been in play. I was wondering. Okay, great.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yep. Okay. So I also do it 200 at a time because if there's any issues, or actually you can do it 200 at a time. I do it 100 at a time. Mostly because I'm not trying to do like all 12,000 at once, like I said, but also if anything goes wrong or there's like some kind of a weird thing going on, glitchy thing going on in the bulk editor, then I don't want it to affect 200 of my listings. Right. So I sort all my active listings, I sort them by the date.
And I feel like too, sorry, real quick. I feel like the more listings that you bulk, the more glitchy it gets.
Yes.
Like it says like you can do 2,000 at a time, but
right.
It doesn't.
You don't want to get in a situation where it's like, oh, it timed out. And now like
you're trying to figure out.
You have these weird, like, half of them actually relisted and some of them didn't. And anyway, but what I do is I sort all of my active listings by the date so I can see the oldest ones first. And then I select the oldest 100 of them and I actually end them. Okay. So
real quick, when you go in, because this is something that it didn't dawn on me to do, but you can because I do the same thing, but then you can do like by page, like 25 or 50 or 100 or 200.
Yes.
And I was going in and I was like, well, this is gonna take me forever. And then I was like, oh, done.
Yes. No, that's a good, exactly right. I set it to show only 100.
Yeah. Okay.
So I select the whole page. Yeah. And it just says everything on that page. And then I end those listings and I actually open another tab. Mm-hmm. And in my other tab, I go to, I think it's unsold is the name of it, right? So there's like active and there's unsold. And so
Do we
then
want to show people? Do people want to see this?
I
I can show them.
I was like, I don't know, I think I'll mess it up. Sure, you can show them though. Can you sell a few similar real quick?
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
put my glasses back on so I can see.
Or we can just show them. So you're in listings, you're in active.
Active. Okay, so you would sort it by the, let's see, probably over, start date, right?
And you can move these in the order that you want. Customize
Yes.
table right here if you wanted. If you don't have this, you can add it to.
Yes, right, to be like a criteria. Okay, so like you have them 1 through 25, so let's just do 25. Do you want to, are you cool?
Yeah, that's fine. No, I'm fine doing it. I just don't know if it'll do it. We're just gonna pretend.
Okay.
But I just want to show them where to go because
Yes.
mostly because I don't know that it will do it
I
because
see.
it's streaming right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
but if you go down, sorry, I just want to show people. So items per
yes,
25,
items
50,
per
100.
page.
So you would do 100.
I would do 100. Yes. And
Yes.
so then you can select them all and actions at the top, that little bubble, and listings is the first one. So you would end those listings. And then if you scroll up to the left-hand menu, there's unsold, right? So I have the active listings tab open, and I have another tab open, and that one is on the unsold page, so that every time I do a step, I can refresh the page and make sure, like, yes, my active listings just went down by 100, right? And then I can look on the unsolds and go like, okay, yes, they're all in here. And then from that unsolds page, you can select all of the listings and you can sell similar. And then it will open them in the bulk editor. And all you have to do is submit them. You don't have to do anything. It just opens them in the bulk editor, submits them. But doing it this way, it does not automatically delete the unsold. It starts a whole new listing. So those unsold listings are still there. So what I do is after I have sold them similar and now there's new versions of them, I go back to that first tab where the active listings are and I refresh it and I make sure that my number went back up by 100. So I know how many active listings I have. And then if something fell through the cracks and say only 97 got added back to my active listings, then I'm like, well, what happened to those 3? Because sometimes that's how things fall through the cracks, right? So only after that point, once I see, okay, in my active listings, it went down by 100 when I deleted, or when I not deleted, when I ended those listings, it went back up by 100 after I sold them similar. And now I'm going to go back to the unsold tab, delete all of those.
Why do you delete them?
Because the next batch of 100, I don't want it to be mixed in with a whole bunch of old unsolds. So like those are like the empty old versions of the listings. So I just do this batch 100 at a time. And I make sure that before I start on the second batch of 100, my unsolds are like at 0.
Oh, because you're doing 200.
Yes. So if I'm going to continue,
would you still delete if you weren't doing them in one day?
Because
I don't delete mine. Duncan has told me that I need to because eBay does wonky stuff.
I do, just because that is my checkpoint, like to double check and make sure that I'm on the right step or that I didn't like get things out of order. So if I didn't delete them, it might be more confusing,
I guess, but I also don't check that they went to active. So that's why I'm like, I want to end it just in case they didn't. And so thank you for walking through the process. I think it's good to hear the process. And I wanted to talk to you about
how do you do it? Do you do it different?
I do similar, but I don't have as many checks and balances.
Okay.
And I think it screwed me. And I've only started doing it. So I had like 2,200 items in my store. Never done sales before. So I went through and I was like, I'm going to get these done as quick as I can without it being chaos. And so I did it over the course of like a week and a half, which was like 10 days, like 200 a day, which for me is a lot. That's my entire store was turned over, and it used to be like 3 years was the oldest date. And now it's all like a month old or 10 days old.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird when I was looking at things. I was like, why is it only 10 days old?
Yeah.
Give me a second. But this was all a new process for me. So I was going through and doing it I was clicking all of them. So that took me a second to like click on. Now I'm down to doing 25 at a time. And I do the same process. I don't check after though.
Yeah.
Which is probably good. I just assume once it hits click, that it's there. So I
Yeah.
think I have that check and balance. And here's why, friends. You guys, Anna knows this, but we're going to talk about it. So this week,
which this may have contributed to it, but it's not, you're not totally certain, right?
Yeah. Of course I have a spreadsheet and the analytics. I like wrote the reasons for all of it. So
ooh, nice.
Yeah, so I track. I mean, if you guys aren't new to the channel, if you're new to the channel, I have spreadsheets for spreadsheets. Anna does as well to track all of your inventory, and this is one of the good reasons to do it outside of a platform and not let your platform be inventory management. So I was going through and looking at some things, and I was like, oh, my spreadsheet says I have 2,800 active listings. eBay says I have 2,200. That's 500. Like if it was
ooh.
4, I'd be like, whatever. Even up to like 50.
If it was 4.
It's whatever. I'm not going to spend the time to figure out what happened to those. 500? Absolutely. So that is what I have spent my entire week doing.
Yeah, I bet.
Reconciling and figuring out where those 500 came from.
Yeah.
And I do have a spreadsheet, so I'm going to tell you exactly where they came from. I'll probably do a video on it too, so make sure to subscribe so you guys can see the exact breakdown. So 72 of them were human error, meaning that meaning my virtual assistant was typing things into the spreadsheet, like it was sold, but it didn't actually get put sold on my spreadsheet, and like or they accidentally made 2 listings instead of 1 in the spreadsheet. So it looks like I have 2 of the same item. So that was 72, 12%.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Most of it's good. Most of it. So 22%, it's not as scary as it was at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
132 of them, again, says it's kind of human error as well. But at the beginning, or towards the summer, I was so sick of looking at some of these old items before I started Sell Similar. I donated like 130 items. Like I just got rid of them, but I didn't take them out of my spreadsheet.
Oh no.
So, which is good, right? So like they were accounted for. It wasn't like an issue, but they weren't, like it took me a minute to figure out that was part of them. So that was 132 listings. This one's good.
That was out of the 500?
Yeah.
So
because eBay didn't have them listed because I took them off eBay.
Right.
But I still had them in my spreadsheet as listed.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got you. Sorry.
I missed that extra step.
I was like, but are they still on Poshmark? But I got it. Okay.
I mean, honestly, some of them probably still are, but I don't care about canceling a sale on Poshmark. Right. I did make sure that they're all off of eBay though, because you don't want to sell an item you don't have.
Yeah.
163 of them. So I'm telling you guys this too, because if you pull a report, was the timing in when I pulled the report, because I pulled the report right after I had done Sell Similar. And so they were active. They were active on eBay, but when I pulled the report, it wasn't refreshed on the back end. So there was like 163 that eBay didn't show in the report, even though they were in, because you know how like sometimes you unpromoted and then it takes like 4 or 5 minutes before.
Yes.
So that was like 163 of them that I like pulled the report again a couple hours later, and I was like, okay, there those are.
Well, that's what that was my knee-jerk reaction when you were telling me this happened. I was like, oh my God, is there any way the report's just wrong? Like that's a lot.
I know.
And yes, but that wasn't the whole picture. So that's interesting.
No, I mean, but that was a large percent, which is good. Okay. Yeah. And then these are the 2 that I have to spend the next couple of months or weeks working on. So 113 of them I'm saying are like eBay error, meaning that I went through, after I figured all these, I went through and physically looked in all of my inventory for all of the ones that were missing and said, hey, my spreadsheet says I have them. eBay doesn't have them. Do I actually physically have them?
Right.
And so those are right. Like I don't want to list it again if I actually sold it and I didn't. So of what's left now, 113 I actually physically have still, and they're not on eBay. 96 of them, I have no idea. I don't physically have them anymore. They have not. I can't find the crappy part on eBay is some of the reports I want to like I had to go through individually, like was it a return, was it all those kind of reports, and even like individual sales data only goes back so far. So I think for a lot of them missing, I don't know, I'm gonna have to like investigate those one by one. But I think, and this goes into the Sell Similar, I think part of what happened, some of the inventory was really old, and I have heard that they do just sometimes fall off of eBay. So I think some of it's that I reached out to Val and she asked me how I list my items. And I
Oh,
was like, interesting. Like,
yeah,
matter? And I haven't heard back from her, but I'm like, that's an interesting question. So I
it
think,
is.
oh yeah. So I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Big fan of Al.
Yes, but this is one reason that I haven't ended because most of these items have ended either I'm figuring out either I did a sell similar and didn't re-put them, like I ended them but didn't sell them similar, or they were a return that didn't get relisted.
Yeah,
Which I've noticed that happens sometimes, and I
that
don't.
happens pretty frequently in my experience where I'm like, oh, but I catch it because I have this returns bin that I like make into a new bin and reassign the bin number once it gets full. And so a lot of times when I'm going back through to reassign the bin number, I'm like, this listing's not here anymore.
Well,
Once
this is why I wanted to talk to you about because I don't
yeah,
have processes like this. So I think when I put my returns away, I need to double check that they are back listed.
yeah,
Or just go through like the returns every once a week and make sure they made it. So I think part of it is returns aren't getting relisted, even though they automatically relist. And part of it is cancellations. So a lot
yes,
of them, I'm like, I know this happened last week. I know this item sold. They didn't
right.
pay. It got canceled. It's not anymore. So
And
I think
it did not automatically relist.
yes. So, and I'm glad that I don't I don't delete my ended because of those like 113. A lot
Oh,
of them are still on eBay, so I don't have to create new listings.
yeah,
He can just go in and find them.
that's good.
So learn from me, friends. Have processes in place. Check your inventory. Gut check things. It
Or
was actually
yay.
kind of fun though.
I mean, it's very like meticulous, There's something that's gratifying about that for sure.
It was like investigation skills. Like it's kind of what I used to do a lot of that stuff when I worked in corporate America, like build spreadsheets and like figure out data and like I wish I could get paid to do that all day. I mean, you can, but not as a reseller. You have to like
Yeah.
actually sell things to do that.
Right. Mostly it feels like if you're having to spend your time on something that's not generating income, you're like, ah, but it's
It, it was at the beginning of I had a agenda for what I was going to do this week,
yeah,
and normally I have to take photos every week. So I'm actually kind of excited that 113 of them eBay's going to think they're new listings.
yeah,
And so that counts as like my new listings that I didn't get to take photos of before. So
yeah.
I don't know, I feel okay about it. I also didn't list much last month and almost sold 900
Woo!
items. I
Oh,
did list heavy
no.
September and October. So I think that's why.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting. I was had super low, like low dollar sales, just low, 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 all of September and October, which for me usually it's earlier in the summer, and for whatever reason it was just kind of terrible. I'm sorry, no, it was August and September, but I was listing whenever I'm stressed about that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it makes me feel better to like push hard on listing because I can control that.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
do see the fruit of it later. Like it's really funny how that works.
I know it's interesting. So this is interesting. I have a couple of videos coming out on this. Because my sales were down and I was like, okay, Sarah, like what would you tell someone who is you? Like take your own advice.
Yeah.
Right. And what I say a lot is running a coupon, a discount, a markdown, two things. One is not going to work no, it's one thing, but there's two different reasons. It's not going to work if people don't see your items.
Right.
So promoted listings is going to help. But so there's two ways for people to see your items on eBay, promoted and organic. So first work on organic, pull a listing quality report, make sure your listings are the best that they can be. Because if you run a sale on it, but no one sees the sale, they can't buy it. Like there's probably a store down the street for me that's running a sale right now. I'm not going to buy something because I'm not in the store. And so work on organic first because that's free. And then promoted, you have to get people in front of you need your impressions to start at the top. You need your impressions to be big. They can't buy the item if they don't ever see it. Right.
Yeah. And maybe your pricing is totally fine. It's just not reaching the audience.
Right. Which is something too that's happened to me with doing the sell similar and the promoted. My average sale price, it's still down year over year, but it's actually increased over the past couple of months because I'm not running as bigger promotions.
Yeah.
I'm just getting it in front of more people.
Yeah.
For what they actually want. All right, let's see if there are any other questions. You guys have already heard my timer. I have about 10 more, 15 minutes.
Well, I see one I wanted to call out really quick.
Yeah.
Also from Timothy Doyle, he says that relisted items will go away from unsold items, and that is true. But when you're selling similar, that's not the same as relisting. So that's why you have to go back in and delete them after, because you're not actually relisting them. You're selling them similar, and those old listings are just dead. So
Yes.
just want to clarify that for anybody who is not clear on that.
Yes, I can't find the question to put up here, but I think he has another question.
Oh, I do have a question for you that's just on another topic, but
yes. So to Anna's point as well, right? Like the relisting on eBay automatically does that, but it's still like it turns stale or stagnant. And so if eBay is like, hey, this is a new listing, I'm going to show it to people, and no one clicks on it and buys it, eventually eBay's like, no one wants this, and they stop. Like that's what the algorithm does, right? It like no one has bought it, so it pushes it down. Where sell similar makes it a completely new listing, and eBay starts putting it in front of places again.
It's just another chance.
Yes. How can I remove sold items from Poshmark, or when I select the item to share, will it share to a follower sold items? You cannot remove sold items on Poshmark. End of question. I think you can share them. I don't know why you would, but I think you actually can. If anyone has any other questions before we wrap up, I think Anna had. I don't know what that means.
Ooh, there's like some feedback. That was weird. Did you hear it?
I did. Yes. Sorry. I'm trying to go through these. I have a question. Okay. I'm trying to get the questions. We were like chatting a while without getting.
Yeah, that's okay.
Hello, friends. I have a question. Do you think creating custom templates good for your eBay store, and you do it without? Happy holidays to you both. And Sarah, thank you for always responding.
Templates. So having a really big miscellaneous store, I don't really use templates in any consistent way. So I don't know.
I'm gonna say it's on my to-do list. At the beginning, I was really wanting to do it at the beginning of the year. I have a virtual assistant, so they use MUA multi-user account. Yeah. And they couldn't use listing templates, which I was like, well, that's kind of weird because most assistants are listers.
Yeah.
But since the spring update, they've been able to do it. It just is a lot of upfront work to create the listing templates. So I haven't done it yet. In theory, it's supposed to be it should be faster. And if you do, like for you probably don't list the same thing, or even like
I don't, but I mean, if I happen to have like I have a whole bunch of button pins that I'm listing. Okay, well then I won't go out of my way to make a template for it, but I will like make a draft and kind of pre-fill stuff and then just duplicate that draft. That's kind of like making a template, but it's not the same process, but it definitely does streamline, a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it's not really using template.
Right. Well, and you use business policies too, so that streamlines it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're niche down, I would spend the time doing it.
Yeah,
I think it would be helpful. The best way to end sell similar is to delete your unsold page at the very end. You can get your unsold page to be sorted by most recent ended if you mix up and similar with deleting unsolds. I've done that too. And so I have gone through, and because if like something sells while you're doing this, it'll go, or like if something is canceled when something showed up and I was like, well, that shouldn't have.
Right.
And so sorting by like making sure I always look at the date and make sure that it's like today's time that I just
right. Okay, interesting.
Okay, so I want to touch on this because I have heard this and I've had it happen. On eBay, I find drafts are dangerous. I have seen them vanish off the screen. It does, and I've reached out to eBay about it. After I want to say 30 days go away.
Unless you schedule them.
Yes.
But then you have to pay for that unless you go in and activate it before the scheduled time comes about or something.
Which right? I don't remember to do that. But yes, if you want to get it around. And that's why like I have enough photos for 30 months, but my virtual assistants are only a week ahead.
Yeah.
In eBay drafts. Because that did happen to me once.
Yes.
I'm the type of learner who has to make the mistake.
Oh yeah.
Learn
it. The one that I've made is that you can only have like 200 drafts or something, and then it starts pushing the oldest drafts off the end of the list, because I had my sister-in-law doing like 300 things one time, and we realized like maybe 10 or 15 items in that, oh my God, we reached the limit of drafts, which is like, I don't know, it's like 200 or 250 or something in that neighborhood.
Weird. If you're a bigger store, that's not.
I know it's not that many. And like she'll do more than that in a batch easily, but it's like, well, we gotta then break up the days on which you're drafting, and I'm coming right behind you listing them so that it's clearing up space.
Yeah. And there's no, I was thinking if there was like a way that you could list outside, but there's no like in list perfectly or something, but you still have to fill out so many item specifics.
Yeah.
That it's like added space.
Right. But that will happen where it's like, oh, I just got a wild hair and like had my own stuff with me that I was listing. And then she's about to do a bunch of drafts. And I'm like, I got to get out of your way. Like that happens sometimes.
All right. If anyone has any questions before we wrap up, we have about 10 minutes. Otherwise, we have lots of things to talk about. Anna, you said you have a question.
I have like a hypothetical for you. So I don't think, I'm pretty sure you don't do any consignment, right?
I've tried it here and there, and it's not for me, but
it's not super for me either, I think overall, but I've had a couple of like large, like estate clean out level consignment projects that I've done that it's probably makes up about 25% of my store, of my inventory. So it's a lot. And in that way, it was worth it to be like, well, I don't have to source anything for like
as a consignment though.
6 months,
like a buyout.
Right. So there's like a split. But here's what I'm thinking now. I'm like, okay, those were each like interesting, unique situations. I think it was the right thing to do at the time, but I really don't want to do that again. And now there's no reason why it would be more advantageous for me to do that, because I could just buy it out.
Yeah.
Like I would rather just buy it out and be done with it. But so what I'm thinking is there a point at which I could basically go to my clients? You know, I have like a handful of clients. I track all of their stuff in their own spreadsheet. It takes me like maybe like an hour every month to like reconcile everything and update, you know, and pay them all out and whatever. And I just don't like doing it. Like it's annoying to me. And I'm like, I would honestly rather just buy them out and not have to keep sending them money every month and not having to keep doing all these calculations every month. Like, and it's like pretty streamlined already. So like, it's like more details that I like need in my brain. And you know, my stuff sells slowly over time. So like I could be paying out some of these clients for like years. And I'm just like,
you have a contract with them for a time?
No.
Yeah.
So like, is there a point at which I just buy them out but based on what? Like, because things might not sell for like the list price or whatever. Like,
so I have the couple of times I've done consignment. One is for my brother-in-law, and he sells on eBay, but he just gets sick of doing the back end stuff. But he still likes shopping. So every once in a while, he'll get a hair up his butt and be like, "Will you just sell for me?" And so that's a very like casual. Like we still, but like I don't sign a contract with him or anything. But the other 2 or 3 that I've done, I signed a contract, and it was like, because I didn't want to be in that situation where I'm like have things forever. And so it was like after, I don't remember the exact time frames, maybe like after 6 months we talk again, essentially is what it was. Maybe it was a year. No, I think it was 6 months, but we talk again and we see how many we have left and what we think is. But honestly, most of the stuff that I sell, if it hasn't sold in 6 months, it's not likely. The last consignment person that I had, and it was only maybe like 50 items. We're like testing it out. And I was like, where you are, I'm like, this is not worth it. They thought their stuff was better than it was. It wasn't. And I was also like, this is my ASP. And they're like, oh yeah. That's like, myself will sell at that. And I was like, okay, we'll try it out. Right. Sold at that. But then everything else, I'm like, it's 6. And so I was like, hey, so I was like, you can either pay to ship it back or I will buy it from you. And I offered to buy it from her what I would buy at what I would pay for it if I saw it at the thrift store. And she was like, cool, it hasn't sold in 6 months. I will take your buyout. And then I just had it.
Well, that was like
I would throw it out.
That was my initial thought of like, okay, you know, like, let's just pretend that I'm now just wholesale buying the rest of this from you, because I've already put in all the time and energy and paid an employee to help me get them all listed. So it's like, that's a cost to factor in. I do have like a per item cost that I can actually use for that. But it's like, okay, so, you know, if it's like whatever, like $5 an item or something, do you want this lump sum now? And then we're just simple and we're just done. Like, I would rather do that. And if I'm wrong about that and I only make $2 on it later, like, at least it's not the hassle anymore.
Well, and then you're saving that hour every single day. And one of it's the actual hour or every month.
Yeah.
But it's also the mental capacity. Like, I didn't like the mental capacity of having to
Yeah.
deal with it. The thing is so I gave him like ultimatum. I was like, I'm done. It's our 6 months. Your options are, and I wrote it into the contract, like whatever doesn't sell, you pay the shit back to you or I donate. And I was like, it's 6 months, I'll buy it from you. But like, so if you give them an option and they're like, okay, well, come pick it all up.
Oh yeah. Well,
Is
for
that
both,
something you want to deal with?
no, I mean, those would not, for neither of those like larger scale situations, that wouldn't even really be an option. And those were both situations where it was like, hey, here's literally like a whole household worth of stuff. My job was to like go through and pull out anything that'd be valuable. So like I chose what was going to get sold, you know, and they're just like getting their little cut of it like every month or whatever. So it's like convenient and hands off for them, and that was like the biggest, you know, benefit to them from the whole thing in the first place. So I don't think anybody would be like, oh my gosh, I want this stuff back. Like, it's not really like that, you know.
Yeah, I would just pose it to them and be like, hey, I've had it for this long.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of both of us, like I'll just buy the rest from you and we'll be
Yeah.
done with the whole scenario and
Yeah.
then make a contract next time.
Yeah. Or don't have it next time.
Oh yeah. I know I
Probably.
hear people do consignment and then I'm always like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And then I try it and I was like, no, I think if that's all that you do, you have processes in place, you have like,
Yeah.
but dabbling.
It's a different business model, and like it's really hard for that. Like if it was like very high end items, like sure, but like it's not usually, for the most part. It's like decent, you know, but not like amazing. And then compared to what I could go buy for approximately 82 cents an item and just own it and have none of the hassle and make a much higher profit margin, like it's
Yeah.
just, you know, it's not really worth the time, like you're saying, like the time it takes to do this business model versus that one.
And
So
they've probably like, I mean, if it's been a decent amount, they're probably like over it as well too, right?
yeah, well, and at the time it was like amazing. I'm like scrappy and I'm, you know, trying to get this business like really going, and it's all this free inventory, like not really free, just free on the front end. And
Yeah, not
so,
having to,
but
find
with
it.
a high volume strategy or a large inventory strategy, that was like awesome. That was like, this is great. I don't have to spend any money on inventory for months. So,
Which
you
is
know,
why I've kind of dabbled in it too, because
yeah,
inventory.
it's definitely compelling, but yeah, I think I've had enough experience in it now where I'm like, it's not my favorite, and I know I don't want to keep doing it. And you certainly don't want to have like too big of a chunk of your inventory, you know, being profit that you have to split. Like that hurts.
Yes, yes, and look, and this is why I do it with my brother-in-law, because when I do it, like, I track his inventory that sells, and his average sale price, I think, for the couple months last time I did it for him was like $125. I was like, "Cool, I'll split that all day." Like, that's
100%.
still like, half of that is still over double my normal
Right,
sale
right.
price, and I don't
That's worth it. Yeah.
Yes. There was a question, but Duncan got to it. And I had a question. I've been wanting to ask this for a while. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm just interested to hear what the chat has to say, what you have to say.
Mm.
So when you send offers, you can do it from your phone. You have to do it one by
Um,
one, and you
yeah,
cannot send a coupon with it.
right.
If you do it on your computer, you can do it all in bulk and you can send like a coupon that they'll get 48 hours later, encouraging them to come back to your store, right? In theory, more sales. So, my question is, I'm not around my computer all the time. Do you think it's better to sell the offer right away ish? Like, I'm not going
Mm.
to send it within 10 minutes, but like maybe every hour, 2 hours, I'll be on my phone and I'm like, okay, I could send offers right now while I'm waiting to pick up the kids. Or do I wait until tonight
Yeah.
and not catch them right away, right? Like, I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm always like debating when I'm doing it if I should do it right now or if I should wait for the coupon and do it in bulk. So I'm interested
Yeah.
to hear what you say and what others.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't have that much of a track record with coupons in general. Like I've had one that's had like decent success, but I'm not sure it's the same as what my public coupon was. So I'm not sure like how much of it was based on people using it because of offers and how much of it, you know, because it's like for later, right? If you send it with an offer.
Yeah, so you don't know like how
Yeah,
to use it. Yeah.
right. So I don't know. I mean, I compulsively send them all the time from my phone, but I also I like to check the little box that says like always send offers, and you can't do that on if you bulk, or there's like one situation where you can't, that's not like an option. I
You
think
can do it. You can do it in bulk, but only every once in a while does it show up in bulk.
right. It's like
Can
you
you
can
do it on
either
your phone?
you can, but you have to do it individually on your phone and like open a little thing and switch on the slider.
Oh,
Like
I've never looked to do it on my I'm looking right now. I've
you
never looked to do
can
it.
do it on your phone, but yeah, it's like but then you don't have the coupon thing.
Oh, where? Because so here's my phone.
Okay.
Is there something?
So it's in the next page. So like if you put
Okay,
in
so
an
like, what is yours?
offer,
Okay.
it's the submit page. There's like a toggle.
Oh, edit offer.
Edit offer? Yeah,
Oh,
let
or
me,
change. Oh, yeah. Okay. Offer settings. Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
which is in theory is only good for as long as you're listing until the next time you sell similar, because then it's new again.
I don't like doing that. I like the idea because then I don't have to like manually do it, but I don't like doing it because sometimes I'm like, well, today sucks. So I'll send you like a 30% off offer. Like,
Right.
I don't want to always do the same offer depending on how my sales
Yeah,
are or like
that's
how long
true.
I've had the item or right.
I do it on my phone like whenever there is one, but if there's like a whole bunch, like if there's like 30 like in the middle of the day on my phone, then I'm like, I'll wait till I get on I'm not gonna click through 30 of these.
Yeah.
I'll find the highest dollar ones and send them right then. And then later I'll do the rest in bulk. But if I want to do the like always send, then I think I still have to usually do them one at a time, but I still do them on the computer. So I don't know. It's like I would rather do it on the computer and do it in bulk, but most of the time, if not always, that always send isn't there if I'm doing it in bulk. But I also don't care as much about that anymore, like as of late, because I do sell similar, like
Yeah.
on a schedule.
Are you noticing? I wonder how much it really saves time. Like doing that every single time. Because like most of my things, I don't know how your items are, but most of my items don't go above like 5 watchers.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
like, if I'm sending out 5 watchers offers, that takes me 30 seconds, where if I have to go in and click that thing, it takes me 30 seconds.
Yeah,
So it might not, you know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah.
I don't I've
But
never
if
thought to do
but if it picks up any new watchers, it'll
it.
send it to them.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because it's hard to know, like, has that resulted in very many sales? Like, I don't know. I feel like I hardly ever make, I mean, that's not true. I think since I've been doing promotions more, I have more people accepting offers that I send.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't rely on that a whole lot anyway. It just always feels like a Hail Mary to me.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do it, so I learned something in that. I think for me, what I typically do, is I will do it on the computer if it's under like 2 or 3 hours. If it's been past that time, then I like to catch it, especially because most of my stuff, unless it's most of my stuff, I think is like an impulse-ish buy. Like there's a 1,000,000 other pairs of jeans on the app that someone else was probably sending them an offer. Like they probably went through and liked like 5 items and go send
Mm,
them the first offer and like it's not like they're waiting to buy it. Some of like the higher end purses, maybe someone is like, I'm gonna watch this and when I get paid in a week, I'll come back and buy it. That's not most of my
right,
stuff.
right.
And so I think doing it sooner rather than later. So I think typically what I do is if it's been more than a couple of hours, I will do it on my phone. But if it's like, okay, I did it this morning and I'm going to be home in an hour, I'll just do it later.
Yeah.
Um, oh, we have one more question and then I can hop off and go get the kids. It's Friday. Do you pay yourself per item? I'm just trying to get better at my daily bookkeeping because right now I'm spending most of the profits on inventory and some for personal, but I am not keeping track.
Hmm. So, I'm trying to think. When I was starting out part-time, I paid myself like a percentage of the gross. I don't remember what it was, to be honest with you, but now I just pay myself like a flat amount every month, and um, it's not based on like per item at all because that would just be too many details. But I will say I also like um always had a percentage of the profits that I put back into the inventory, and that really helped me to like have a
Mhm.
budget when I was shopping and have some structure and have some like rules so that it was clear like okay, this is going to be steady growth for me, but and if I'm making more, then I can spend a little bit more or whatever. But like generally I'm going to stay around, 10 or 20% or something like that. So it's been different percentages at different times as my business has grown over the last 5 years. But, finding a percentage that makes sense to you will sort of guarantee that you are growing and that you are reinvesting, but it will also keep you from like overspending and, not paying yourself or whatever.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person too,
Yeah.
right? And your strategy. Like I went gangbusters. And I made a couple of videos about this last year, but everyone's like, oh my God, you're growing so much. You're growing so much. I was like, y'all, I have not taken an income in like 6 months. Like it looks impressive but everything that I was making, I was growing. And so if you want to grow quickly, you're taking less for yourself because you're putting it back into your business.
Yeah.
And if you want to grow, which is where like at the eBay podcast, they're like, do you want to get bigger? And I was like, no, I like where I'm at because then I'm not having to reinvest. And I know like more or less what I'm going to make, and it's a little bit more stable. And I also don't have room for it, and I don't want employees. But I think if you're not diligent too, if y'all haven't guessed, a math person and a numbers person. And so even without like giving myself a percentage, we're pretty good with finances. So I never really
very rational.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never like set a percentage. And my income is also, we set our lifestyle up for one income, whether it was my husband's or my income when I was working in corporate America. And so my income is like, the kids can do extras, we can go on vacations, we can put more money into our HSA, so what we tend to do is just like fill up the bucket, and then we're like, oh, we need to go on a vacation, time to take money out of Sarah's business. Like
yeah.
Because it's not paying the bills, right? Like my spouse's income is like all of our necessities. I do have children to get, so join us. Oh yes. Oh, speaking of
no necessity.
Oh, I was like, Anna, do you have an announcement to make sure you're going to the end?
You're like, what? No, I'm just saying your children are necessities. You have to go pick them up.
Oh, yes, yes.
Their necessity.
But it's a book fair this week at school, so they would be fine being left there and like buying all the books.
I promise I will not tell you on live TV whenever I am pregnant. Okay.
At the very end.
Very end. In therapy, we call that a doorknob confession. I will not doorknob confession you.
Oh yes, as you're walking out. All right, so we will be here next week. I am doing Vlogmas, not Vlogtober. That's October. So there's gonna be a video every single. I'm hoping there's gonna be a video every single day in December. A couple lives with Anna up until the holidays, and then we're going to take a couple breaks. I'm doing eBay store reviews next week. The form is already out there. It is first come, first serve. So if you guys want an eBay store review, head on over to the eBay live video for next week and go to the description and fill out the store review. And we will see you guys next week. Happy sales. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, happy December.
Oh yes, it is December.